Freddie Speck, chair of the ANC 34G. I represent ANC 34G03. The area covered in my Senator district is essentially the area between Nebraska and Utah and Water Ranch. We'll begin by introducing the other commissioners. Becky, I'll begin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Madak. I'm 34G04. I have Lafayette School, Lafayette Park. I basically go from Utah, Nebraska, Morrison, Broad Ranch, and Tennyson. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Bradfield. Dan Bradfield. I represent 3G06, which is on the western portion of the district. Chevy Chase down the military over to Chevy Chase Park.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shanda Tuck-Garfield, and I represent ANC 34G02, which is on the part of the district that's closest to Rock Creek Park, Military Road, and thank you all for coming tonight.
Chris Romboludi, 3G07. I represent the area bounded by Military, Reno, Nebraska, and Nevada.
I'm Jerry Mallett. I represent 3G05. That's the side of Connecticut Avenue from the Circle down to about Military and across to Broad Ranch.
Good evening. I'm Abraham Clayman, and I represent ANC 34G01, Hawthorne, and part of Warren Woods.
Okay, we have all seven commissioners here, so we have a quorum and we can conduct business. Hopefully we'll have a lot of people who will watch this on the video. So we'll all speak up for the video. The first item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting. The agenda has been posted on our website and on the Chevy Chase listserv and various other listservs as well. Any changes, modifications to the agenda? All those in favor of adopting the agenda? 7-0. Okay. I have a few announcements. The first is the library's Facilities Master Plan meeting. It's going to be held at the Chevy Chase Community Library, Neighborhood Library, on April 25th beginning at 7 o'clock. That's the library that's just right adjacent to our building. DC Public Library is in the process of developing a facilities master plan to help guide the next 10 years of planning for library services across the city. This meeting will address the following questions. What programs and services do you want from the library? Are there potential partnerships that the community would value? And what impact should the new community center have on plans for the library? Those are important issues, not only for the library, but for us as well. There's more information at the DC Library's website under DC Library Future. That's an important meeting that I'll try to attend. The next announcement I have is with regard to the Ingleside Task Force. As many of you are aware, maybe some of the audience are not aware, we began working with Ingleside about 5 years ago on preparations for the construction of their substantial expansion project. One of the things we were focusing on was to minimize the disruption to the community from that construction. It's been very successful in almost all respects. However, one of the things that we provided in the agreement that we had with Ingleside was an escalating set of fines that would be imposed if some of the provisions for traffic, for instance, or parking were not followed. And there have been a fairly substantial number of those fines that have been imposed. And as I said, more recently, because some of them are multiple offenders, some of the individual contractors are multiple offenders, the fines have escalated. And there was a particular jump at the beginning of this year, and we took some very aggressive steps with Ingleside to try to prevent that from happening in the future. But through March 1st of this year, there had been about $75,000, a little over $75,000 collected in fines. And under the agreement, the Ingleside Task Force, which consists of 2 members of the ANC and members of the surrounding community, neighbors in that area, under that agreement, we vote on where that money goes. And so we have distributed, as of March 1st, we distributed about $75,000. And then we had another accumulation of funds that we addressed at our March 26th meeting. And we distributed those in fairly substantial numbers, and I just thought it would be appropriate to announce this. The task force did a fairly exhaustive search for people who might give grants to. We invited applications. They were analyzed by a subcommittee of the task force. And then we voted on which grants to give. And the grants were for Martha's Table, $14,000. For the Humane Rescue Alliance, $15,000. For Friendship Place, $14,000. For So Others Might Eat, $14,000. And for the Police Foundation, $2,000 to support this is for supporting the all-day meals on May 16th in appreciation for first responders. And then finally, the Transition Assistance Program at the Chevy Chase Presbyterian Church, which helps returning citizens integrate back into the community, and that was $6,000. So those were, well, Wilson Crew actually was before the March 1st. And we announced that at our last meeting too. But these are all new subsequent to that. So it's been a very substantial program, I think, and as a result, we've been able to funnel a lot of the money for these fines back into the community to do, I think, good things for the community. The last announcement I had is that at our next meeting, which is on April 22nd, we're going to devote virtually the entire meeting to one topic, which is a little unusual for us, but we've sort of cleared the calendar for all the other things that might come up. And we're going to focus on the proposals that have been made for changing traffic patterns and the E6 bus around Lafayette Elementary School. And I know there's some controversial proposals that have been made, and we want to make sure that's completely and fully aired. So we're going to spend most of that meeting. There'll be a couple of other really small things we have to take care of, but for the most part, we'll spend the entire meeting on that issue. Okay, other announcements. Becky?
Yes, hello. Tomorrow night at 6:30 here at the Community Center, there's going to be a meeting for the Lafayette Park Recreation Center modernization. So the design is done. They're putting in the last minute finishings, I think, on it. And it's one of the last times you can add input to it. So if you're interested in the Lafayette Recreation Center, please come.
That's at 6:30?
6:30 here at the Community Center.
Dan? Shannon? Chris?
A quick announcement. This is about the two vacant rundown parcels at 5301, 5303 Connecticut Avenue. Myself and some of the neighbors have been trying to get the developer to do something about that mess. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's on the corner of Jocelyn Street and Connecticut Avenue. It's very obvious. We, despite talking to numerous council members and going through all the channels with DCRA, nothing has been done about it. And the latest thing we've gotten from DCRA is that this is an active demolition site. Well, they haven't done anything for 2 years, so this is active. I don't know what it is. So I just want to announce that we're going to bring this issue up in a future meeting, maybe the first meeting in May. And I intend to invite DCRA to explain their actions and see if we can get the owner of the property here and some of the neighbors to talk about it. But this has been going on for 2 years. It's gotten really bad in the last year. So just wanted to let everybody know.
Nothing from me.
Just two quick announcements. First, John Burwell, who some of you may know, is organizing a cleanup in Pinehurst tributary on Saturday morning, April 11th, starting at 9 a.m. The meeting spot is at Oregon and Beach, picking up trash in Pinehurst tributary. That's announcement number one. And then announcement number two is regarding Wise Road. I mentioned this at the last meeting, but I wanted to clarify because I got confirmation from the Public Affairs Office at National Park Service that Wise Road will close in late April or early May. That a press release will go out explaining that, and then while the road is closed, there will be repair work done on Wise Road, and the road will reopen when all of Beach Drive reopens, which is projected to be in fall 2019.
Thank you. Okay. Announcements from the mayor's office. Gabrielle?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Priest, and for those of you who do not know, I am the relatively new Ward 4 liaison in the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. I still do not have a card, even though I'm 4 months in, so I'm hoping that I'll have one hopefully by next month, but I wanted to take a second to make sure that everyone has my contact information. So my phone number is 202-603-7182. Again, that's 202-603-7182. That's my mobile phone. And my email address is Gabrielle, spelled Gabrielle, .priest, Priest, 2 @dc.gov. I just have a few updates to share with you all today. Please forgive me, the allergies are getting me a little bit. So 2 weeks ago, Mayor Bowser celebrated the groundbreaking of the Brooks and the Vale building, 2 new housing developments that will deliver 390 new market rate and affordable housing units, and the first new construction on the historic Walter Reed campus. The Vale will contain 301 apartments, including 30 affordable units and 18,000 square feet of retail facing Georgia Avenue, and the Brooks will include 89 condominiums, including 8 affordable home ownership opportunities. The buildings will be located at the southwest corner of Georgia Avenue, so we broke ground on that 2 weeks ago. Last week, Mayor Bowser released the district's first ever cultural plan. The cultural plan outlines 23 policies and 8 investment recommendations to address issues of affordability, access, and sustainability, and to strengthen the people, places, communities, and ideas that define Washington, D.C. The mayor's fiscal budget 2020 proposal invests in several of the cultural plan's recommendations for the first year implementation, including establishing a new cultural facilities fund, a new innovation and entrepreneurship loan fund, a public space security fund, and a new center for cultural opportunities to provide business development related resources and trainings. The cultural plan's recommendations focus on 5 categories: cultural creators, cultural space, cultural consumers, convergence, and cultural investments. Recently, Mayor Muriel Bowser announced in her State of the District address that the DC Circulator Transit System will be free from now on for all residents. Additionally, the mayor is requesting additional funds to create a new route to serve residents in Ward 7. Also during her State of the District address, Mayor Bowser announced her proposal to provide additional relief to parents through eliminating sales taxes on diapers. I know that last time we were here, we discussed if it would be for adult diapers. I'm still not 100% sure, but I'm under the impression that it will. And I have definitely communicated that recommendation to the budget office. Mayor Bowser will work with Councilmember Bonds to pass this measure through the council in a similar manner like the pink tax implemented last October. Just a few events. Tomorrow, Tuesday, April 9th, at the museum, Mayor Bowser will join Children's National Health System President and CEO Kurt Newman to make an announcement related to the new Children's National Research and Innovation Campus on the former Walter Reed Army Medical Site in Ward 4. Later, the mayor will attend the grand opening celebration of the Conrad, Washington, D.C., a new hotel located at City Center, D.C. On Wednesday, April 10th, the mayor will lead a community walk on Eastern Avenue with Prince George's County Executive Angela Also Brooks to highlight the strengthened partnership between the adjoining jurisdictions, law enforcement agencies to help maintain a safer, stronger community. On Friday, April 12th, the mayor will host the annual DC Emancipation Day Full Democracy Champions Breakfast. And on Saturday, Mayor Bowser will march in the DC Emancipation Day Parade and attend the concert on Freedom Plaza. If you'd like more information on that, I can let you know the link. You can come talk to me. And I believe that it's going to be from 2 o'clock. I believe I will send exact information to Chairman Respect.
Okay, that was really great. There's a lot of things to take down, and my shorthand is really rusty now. So
Sorry about that.
if you could send me all of just what you read there, I'll make sure it gets in the minutes.
No problem. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Is there any questions for me? All right, thank you.
I saw Anthony. Yes. New haircut every time.
Hi everybody, my name is Anthony. I'm from Councilmember Che's office. The council is in budget oversight season, so I'm going to update everybody here a bit on that. Last week, the council had oversight over Department of Parks and Recreation and Department of General Services. The hearing record is still open, so if you want to submit testimony to be made part of the official record, I can give you the contact information by which to do so. To submit testimony on Department of Parks and Recreation, you can email Nate Bennett Fleming. His email address is first initial N, last name Fleming, F-L-E-M, as in Mary, I-N-G, at dccouncil.us. And for the Department of General Services to submit testimony, their email address is much more simple. It's facilities@dccouncil.us. As for upcoming oversight, tomorrow is Department of Motor Vehicles and Thursday is Department of Transportation. DMV starts at 11 a.m. and DDOT on Thursday starts at 11 a.m. as well. Tuesday, the DMV's oversight witness list is probably closed, but again, if you email the committee, you can still have your testimony submitted as part of the official record. To get on Department of Transportation's witness list, feel free to call us at 202-724-8062 or email Miss Akima Benjamin at first initial A, last name Benjamin at dccouncil.us. And that contact information can be used to contact us about DMV as well. And if anybody is interested, Department of Health and Human Services is on Wednesday, and their email address is humanservices@dccouncil.us. Any questions? Great.
Again.
Forgot one announcement.
Okay.
Abe reminded me, we also have a Lafayette, Friends of Lafayette Park is having cleanup on Saturday too from 9 to noon.
For when, 9 to noon? No one from Councilmember Todd's office here. All right, we'll go right to the next item on our agenda, which is the discussion and possible vote on the renewal of 2 Class C liquor licenses, one for Blue 44 and one for Parthenon. Just by way of information, because there were some questions that were raised about the procedure for liquor license renewals, I spoke this morning with Martha Jenkins, who's the General Counsel for ABRA, the Alcohol and Beverage Regulation Administration. She says that when a business applies for a renewal, they are automatically, unless there's something obvious that's a problem, they're automatically given the license, so that the applications that we're going to be seeing now, there are several of them coming up, they will all get their license through 2022. But the notice then goes out to the public and to the ANC about those liquor license renewal applications, and we have a period of time in which to either express objection or support for the application. And if there is an objection to the application, then the board will then decide whether a hearing is necessary, and if there's a hearing that's necessary, then we'll go through that process, and ultimately, if they finally decide that there are problems with the application and the license should not be renewed, then they can revoke it at that point. So in the meantime, rather than letting a license lapse, which would mean that the business would not be able to sell liquor during that period of time, they just go ahead and give them the license pending all of the process that we go through here. So that's just the background for why we're doing this now. And I know some of the applicants that are going to appear before us have already got their license, and so there's some question about why we had to have to come to this meeting. But anyway, the first one we'll hear, I guess, is Blue 44. Jerry, you want to introduce that?
As Randy said, the first one is Blue 44. Their owner, Chris, wasn't able to be here tonight, but Francisco is here tonight to speak on behalf of Blue 44.
We don't have any changes or like anything on our renewal, so we're just gonna pay this as we always do for the past 7 years.
Francisco, what's your last name?
Velasquez.
Velasquez.
Yeah. I'm the main bartender there.
Yeah.
I'm just representing Chris for that.
Right.
So if anybody knows about the alcohol, it would be Francisco.
Okay, so everything is going to remain the
It's
same.
gonna be the same.
Okay.
Hours and everything else.
Are there any other comments or objections that anyone wants to raise? We'll go ahead and vote on this one, I guess. Jerry, you want to make a motion?
We send a letter in support.
I propose that we send a letter in support of Blue 44's Type C alcohol beverage license renewal.
Second. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Francisco.
All right, Dan? Yes, thanks a lot for coming.
Now we move on to ABRA 013995, Class C license for the Parthenon. And with us is Peter Puskos. And Peter, I just want to say a few things. I'll just say initially, within the district, I know of no problems. Pete has been a really good neighbor. He's actually done something recently which is very favorable to our neighbors, but he's added additional cameras, security cameras to the back area, which is something relating, we've had issues in the back alley. And so that's very well taken. Pete, yeah.
Just to say the same, we've got no hours, nothing to continue the same 3 years.
Any questions then? Any objections anybody has?
Thank you for coming. I know that there are no changes, but on the Friday and Saturday hours, it's until 3 a.m. Is that correct? Yes. And so I just wondered about that. Have you, since this is the first time since I've been in the commission? They've had that for a while. I just wondered about that. That was my only question.
It's the same on the notions.
Okay. And do you ever go that far to 3 a.m.? Like currently, I think.
Not understand.
Yes.
I mean, I can say to you, but I understand.
Okay.
These appears that it's very low profile neighborhood, you know, about 11th grade to everybody's best.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Dan, you want to make
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we send a letter of support to ABRA on Parthenon's Class C liquor license renewal.
Second. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
John. Liquor license class different hours for Saturday, Friday night, and Saturday night compared to the other days of the week. That's normal.
Yes, I know that, but I know some of them, for instance, Blue 44 goes to, on their license to 2 a.m. Since I had first time parking, I was running about 3 a.m.
That's the
Yeah.
maximum you can get.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the discussion and possible vote on a DDOT Notice of Intent to change parking signage in the 3700 block of Jocelyn Street. And Chris, you want to introduce that?
That's it. 3 copies. Is anybody here from the 3700 block of Jocelyn Street who wants to, anybody here? Okay, I didn't think so. So this is, the reason this is being done is that the Montessori school, Chevy Chase, which is a school for younger children, parents had no place to park and go in and pick up their kids. And so the south curb of Jocelyn Street, right before Connecticut Avenue, is where they wait. And it's basically a de facto drop-off zone. And the school wants to make it a full-time drop-off zone when school is in session, which in the morning and in the afternoon when you pick up the kids. I passed a flyer around to about 20 people who lived on that block, and I got one response from about 4 people, so we'll get into that. So I've got a little flyer here that kind of shows the situation, and let me just summarize this, what DDOT proposes to do. One is installation of no parking anytime, inset language that would allow 15-minute school drop-off pickup zone, 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. and 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. for the eastbound south curb lane in the 3700 block of Jocelyn Street. Now, right now there's no parking at all on that south lane of Jocelyn Street. So that's number one. Number two is the item that's 4 neighbors objected to, and actually I object to also. Removal of existing residential permanent parking for 1 space on the north side of Jocelyn Street, northwest, opposite the drop-off zone. Right now, at night, that street is totally impacted with parking. And to get rid of a spot at night, when this is a drop-off zone in the daytime, doesn't make any sense. And it's been impacted even more by the 5333 building, which is basically across the street. So what I am requesting is that we rewrite this and said, this paragraph 2, which says, for 1 space on the north side of Jocelyn Street, northwest, opposite the drop-off zone, install below the residential parking permit sign, further restriction, no parking 8:30 to 9:30 a.m., 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. So that would essentially preserve the residential parking. It would preserve the nighttime parking, but would not allow parking. And as you look at the diagram, you can see and Jocelyn's a very narrow street. If you have people parking on both sides, you can barely get through one way, and it's a 2-way street. So to allow that parking spot to stay when there's a drop-off would be problematic. However, I do think that this drop-off zone is required. So what I would like to do is I would like to propose that we accept or we support that the DDOT memorandum modification parking regulations with the exception that I mentioned. And I can write up a resolution on that.
I'm sorry, Chris, I couldn't follow what you were saying.
Okay.
So on the side of the Montessori school, that's all drop off and
Right.
pick up now.
And you see the little roads,
It's not formally designated.
it's not designated, but people drop off there.
Okay.
De facto.
That's the first.
And then what's with the red? What's,
The little red thing is where that parking space is they want to eliminate.
you
There's
want to
7,
eliminate those?
DDOT wants to eliminate it, and there's 7 town, and after that parking spaces, there's 7 townhouses in a row, so there's no parking. There's this one space, and it's always occupied. If you go by there at night, there's always a car there.
I thought you wanted that to be another drop off.
Neighbors don't want that space eliminated at night.
Yeah, now I understand.
So,
Thank you.
so I move that we we support the DDOT's modification to the parking on Jocelyn Street, installing the school drop-off zone parking, but not removing existing parking space, except not allowing parking when the drop-off zone is active.
I second. I second.
Oh, I was asking a question. Okay. Just wondering if this is the same restrictions that they have on the street where Blessed Sacrament is.
I don't have the slightest idea.
Okay.
They do have some restrictions on that.
They have the 15-minute thing also. I was just wondering if they're being consistent with how they're implementing
I think
these.
their situation is different. If they have some off-street parking for buses having, but not enough.
Okay, so we have a second.
Second. All those in favor? 7-0.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an update on the Chevy Community Center modernization. And you want to talk first, Chris, about the design aspect of this?
I don't really have much. There's not much to say from the last meeting. I have communicated with DGS this morning, and there's no new information. There are 12 architecture firms, I guess they're architecture firms, design firms is probably a more accurate term, that have submitted the bids on this project. Bids were due March 13th, and these are the 12 firms that submitted that date. DGS wants 6 weeks from that March 13th date to make up their mind which design contractor will be selected. They wouldn't tell me the names of the firms. This has been kept under wraps until they select the person. So we won't find out until approximately May 1st who's been selected. At that point, DGS wants 6 more weeks to bargain with the winner. Usually it's called best and final offer. So they're trying to usually trim the contract price down a little bit, increase the deliverable. So we need another 6 weeks for that. So we're talking middle of June. At that point, we have trying to put together a design oversight committee that will be the way in which the community can be assured that what we asked for is what we're going to get, and we'll have meetings, starting once the project has been notice of proceed, means the project is going, and hopefully the first meeting will happen in June. But I just have a feeling that they're going to happen in the summer. Nobody's around. Nobody can sneak things through. So anyway, that's where we are, and I'll keep you informed. Hopefully, by the next meeting, we might maybe know something more. Any questions?
Okay, and I'm going to report on the other aspect of this. As we mentioned at our last meeting, Chris and I sort of divided this up. Chris will be working on the design side, and I'll be working on the construction logistics side. And if you remember, we've had a good bit of experience in this neighborhood at Ingleside and 5333 Connecticut with construction projects in the middle of our residential community. This is going to be a little bit more complicated even because it's going to be in a commercial district as well. And plus there's going to be the E4 and E6 buses running down McKinley. So there's going to be a lot of potential conflicts in this process. And what I wanted to do was to begin the process now, starting to talk to DGS about planning for those eventualities so that we can minimize the disruption that is caused in the community and start anticipating potential concerns that the community is going to have and beginning to address them contractually through the arrangements with the construction contractors or even with the design contractor perhaps. And so today, first of all, this started very effectively, I thought, with our testimony before the Committee on Facilities and Procurement on the budget hearing for DGS, and it sort of indicates the value of this testimony, because even though we didn't have a specific ask in that testimony, we weren't asking for additional money to go to DGS for this specific purpose. This is what the issue that we raised, and both the director from DGS, Keith Anderson, and the council member of the committee, both of them were very interested in this issue and paid attention to it and followed up. And so even during the hearing, I got an email from John Stokes at DGS saying, let's get together and talk about this. And so it did elevate the level of the discussion very quickly. And so I had a telephone call today with John Stokes and Paul Blackman, who is DGS's Capital Construction and Chief Project Delivery Officer and the Deputy Director of Capital Construction. And we discussed this question of how we address the logistics connected with the construction here. He agreed that this is a tight construction site that presents a lot of special problems. He appreciates that the ANC reached out to DGS at the early stage so that we could start this discussion. He said they have experience in other construction projects in the city, of course, including the Lafayette Elementary School, which they manage that construction too. But he said it would be very valuable to get the input from our experience in this neighborhood with the specific concerns that we have. So he wants to begin planning for construction even before the architect is selected, so that even the designer will be aware of construction needs as they're going through the process. And he agreed that construction logistics planning needs to be done substantially before the construction contracts are bid. And so I told him then that we were planning this task force and that would be the single point of contact with the community and with the ANC. And the task force would work with DGS to anticipate concerns and address them proactively. So I would expect that we'll start having organizational meetings. We may, before the design starts, we may have an organizational meeting in May to start getting the community's input on concerns about what's going to happen during construction. So on the whole, it was a very positive response, and I appreciated that they were so willing and seemingly anxious to go ahead and talk to us. So any questions or comments, Jerry?
A couple of questions. In terms of lessons learned between the Tenley Library and the Cleveland Park Library, which have similar constraints on those construction sites as we'll have here, is there anything that we can reach out to groups to learn what their adventures or misadventures were?
That's a very good point. I will reach out to the people at Cleveland Park. And they've had the experience more recently, it's probably going to be fresh in their mind, and see if they've got some ideas about what we should be anticipating. That's a very good idea.
May not be applicable. You know, they had a whole bunch of issues. The library was originally built for an apartment building on top of it. So that was a much more complicated negotiation.
Shannon?
Well, my only question was, I noticed from the presentation by Ms. Priest today in the mayor's budget that there is a handout now stating for Ward 3, there's $15.5 million for improvements for the Chevy Community Center. So
Yeah, that's prospective beginning in 2020. It doesn't include the $3.5 million that's in the budget for 2019.
okay.
Because it's only, it was 19 million total, and that add 3.5 million and 15.5 million is 19 million. So that's just a portion of the budget from 2020 through 2022. Okay, any other questions? By the way, I had them remind me both in the testimony on DPR and in the testimony on DGS, they reminded me that $19 million is the largest capital improvement project in the budget. So and they sort of look askance at us if we're asking for anything else.
I'm sure they reminded you a few times.
Yes, they certainly did. They certainly did. Okay. There's no action we need to take on that, but that's just for informational purposes. Okay. The next thing on the agenda, not the last thing by any means, is another possible discussion and possible vote on testimony at the council's budget hearing for DDOT. Anthony mentioned that that's coming up on Thursday, and I have signed up to testify there. By the way, that will be the 13th testimony that we've submitted in both the performance oversight and the budget hearings, and I think they have been very well received and very effective and helpful. But for DDOT, which is the only remaining budget hearing that I think we've probably got a particular concern is that it's going to be before the Department of or the Committee on Transportation and the Environment. And there are several increases in the DDOT budget that I mentioned at our last meeting that I think we could really focus on. The first is local streets in Ward 3. There's a $6.6 million increase. Ward 4, another $6.6 million increase. Safety projects that are related to Vision Zero, which is $31 million more than previously budgeted. Sidewalks, another $15 million increase. Streetlight management, $12.7 million increase. And stormwater and flood mitigation, another $17 million increase. The testimony that I prepared asked the council to require DDOT to specify its detailed plans in each of these budget categories to ensure that the resources will address the most urgent concerns. And specifically, we've asked that the council ensure that the money for safety projects includes any funding for the long pending need for pedestrian, cyclist, and vehicular improvements in Chevy Circle. It should get DDOT's commitment to funding for sidewalks that will include projects like the sidewalk installation of Chesapeake Street. There's been long delayed. Chestnut Street, excuse me. Sorry, I had Chestnut Street. The council should insist that DDOT identify its priorities for street repairs so that the worst problems in the neighborhood are addressed first. And DDOT should tailor the new street lights to residents' needs and to reduce light pollution, and should base stormwater and flood mitigation projects on science, engineering, and consultation with residents who will be affected by those projects. So it's basically just reiterating to the council and to DDOT our continuing concerns that DDOT, in its budget increases, address the issues that are most concerned to us. So I would move that we adopt this testimony for presentation to the Committee on Transportation and the Environment. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. All right. The last bit of business that we have tonight, we're zipping through here, is the discussion and possible vote on planning to update our website, and also Abe has asked that we consider proposal. He's got a proposal for producing a monthly newsletter by the ANC. So I think both of those would be in keeping with our efforts to try to have greater outreach and greater communications with the community, with our constituents in the community. Jerry, you want to begin?
Sure. And I think everybody has what I sent out this afternoon in their package. I know Abe has copies for everybody for the newsletter as well. So even though it said on the website, on the agenda that we'd be talking about the website, and we're also talking about the newsletter, and since we just started a Twitter feed, I thought it more appropriate to talk about a comprehensive integrated communication strategy for everything that we do. And I'm going to skip down a bit because I was just doing this for my own, and I noticed that, of course, we have a website, anc3g.org. We have a YouTube channel, ANC3G. We have a Twitter feed at ANC34G. We have a Facebook that's not used, ANC3G, even though we have 437 followers on that. We have an Instagram account, ANC3G, that's totally empty. It's never been used. And then there are things that we've used on occasion, like a survey tool. We've used Question Pro, meeting schedulers. I know I've used them for scheduling groups that I've been involved with. And then there's the community platforms such as Nextdoor, Google Listserv, Chevy Chase Listserv. So, and with the newsletter discussion, that gives us 9 things that we've been dealing with. So I just thought it would make sense if when we look at these things and the concepts that we want to get across, that we look at this as an integrated way of getting our message out to people and hearing from other people. So I give a few examples on this, some necessary characteristics for the website, but there are just a few things that I want to make sure that we do address, and that's the need to leverage all of our tools to ensure our communications are being delivered and read or otherwise interacted with, which will help maximize the impact. As I mentioned on here, the best content in the world doesn't matter if our messages aren't being delivered and read by our audience. And we also have to get a good sense of what our audience wants, not just what we want to deliver to them, but what we feel that what we ascertain from them that they're interested in, that they find useful, and so on. So just in terms of the website, a few things, and this is just a checklist that I've used throughout my career in dealing with websites, is be open, be consistent, be complete, be transparent, be responsive, be timely, and most importantly, be simple, meaning easy navigation and searchable, and to be responsive, which we want to be able to have them engage in two-way communication, not just us speaking to them, but to hear back from them. So these are all things that I think we need to consider, and the material that Abe sent out in regard to the newsletter fits right in, and is, before I turn it over to Abe, there's just one thing I want to say about the newsletter. As many of you know, I have a newsletter that I've been doing for 2 years, and MailChimp makes it very easy to get an idea of what people are interested in. Very easy. So if I put out a newsletter and I see first it tells you what the open rate is. So if you have, MailChimp tracks every newsletter that they have that uses their platform. And the industry rate for open for government is 25%. So of all the people that get a government-sponsored newsletter, the open rate is 25%. And the other thing that you could, and then you could actually drill down and see who opens them. It's not public information, it's only to the person that has access to that, but you can see who opens it. But even more importantly, you can see what they click on in that newsletter. So that's one of the ways that I've been able to figure out what people are interested in, because if I mention anything about a restaurant, that's always the #1 click. Always the #1 click. And I put that on top, and I know people are going to be interested in the newsletter. The second most clicked on items are those that involve seniors. So I typically have those down near the bottom because I know that people are going to look for them, so they're probably going to read the rest of the newsletter before they get to the senior thing. So, and by being able to track these and really look at the analytics, you you can get a sense of what, without hearing from people individually, you can get a sense of what they're interested in, what resonates with them, and it's a very useful tool. And I'm glad that Abe sent out what he did, put that together to enable us to come up with a good plan for our own newsletter. So before I turn it over to Abe, are there any questions about what I have on there?
Jerry, how do we go from where we are right now with our website that doesn't meet all of these requirements, the necessary characteristics that you've got there? It can certainly be improved. How do we get from where we are right now to a website that's going to address these kinds of things?
Well, like I said, I think we need to look at everything as a whole. And then, because you can certainly leverage these things in terms of messaging, in terms of branding for another, and once you start looking at everything, so you really shouldn't pick the solution. You should define your requirements first, and then let the solution be derived from what those requirements are. So it'd be easy to just say, pick a GoDaddy platform and start all over, or pick a different platform and start all over. But I think we really need to identify what our requirements are and then find the solution based on that rather than the other way around.
Okay, Abe, you want to talk about the newsletter?
Sure. I printed out copies of what I sent around.
You need to go to the microphone.
Public newsletter.
So either in groups or in individually, I've had a chance to speak with many of you. We've talked about together about wanting to have a way to quickly and easily communicate with many residents in the ANC without relying on a specific platform that we don't control. So having a distribution list that we could send out messages to, primarily either for a newsletter or to announce meetings, or if the meeting was canceled at the last minute. And so what I thought we would do is lay it out here in this plan. I see some folks reading it, so I think I'm actually just going to give you a minute more to read it and say one or two points. So I'm actually going to let folks read it for a second.
Alan?
Chairman, when I first joined this commission, we had monthly newsletters. The problem boiled down to one was content and who was going to be the editor, and then publishing. And I see you've established ideas of deadlines. That would solve some of the problems we had back then, because we didn't really have established deadlines. By the way, we sent it out by mail to 6,000 people, not so much in the ANC area. Well, that was pre-email, I remember that. So you have a cheaper method of distribution here. But we still get down to what are you going to have in it, and I think you've got some idea of what should not be allowed and what should be. But we found that various commissioners over time, well, I don't want you to put that in the newsletter, and who was going to be the decider and the editor and the person who's going to be ultimate set. And that's what it came down, and that's why it broke down. I encourage you to try it.
I think we have a volunteer editor.
Yeah, I mean, I think to Alan's point, to Randy's point, I think as the secretary, I think it would make sense to be in that role. I'm also happy to do it. I've done it for another situation, other places. I'm interested in doing it. I've had the chance with a lot of help from Stephanie to compile a fair amount of emails already. It's a small number, but we have about 600, which I think is a good start. And I think there'd really be two main asks from other commissioners. Potentially, there are initially two. One is that each commissioner would send to me at least 50 email addresses of constituents that we could add to this list. And two, that we you would send in, and I'm not even saying everyone would have to send in something every month, but that with some degree of regularity, you send in something you wanted in the newsletter. To Alan's point, I don't think any commissioner should be able to say, you can't put that in. I think there would have to be one person who would be in charge of saying that. I think that should be me. I think otherwise it's going to be really difficult to say, all right, I don't want that thing in. I also think that's just not typically our MO, but it could be in the future with a different commission. So I think setting that smart to begin with is a good idea. So those would be the two axes: an occasional piece of content and 50 emails. And if you wanted to send more than 50 emails, be my guest. It's great, the more the better, but 50 would be a good number. That would put us over 1,000, which I think is you're starting to get to the 10% of the community range, which is a good, nice little tip. And just to be very clear, it says it on here, but very clear, this would in no way be a political newsletter. There would be no political messaging whatsoever, no endorsements, no campaigning, nothing. We can get a lot of hot water for doing that, and it would also just kind of spoil the whole point. There's a time laid out that basically, early part of the month, people would send things in. About a week later, I would send out a draft, I'd hear some feedback, and then the publication date would be on the 15th of the month. So that's what I'm thinking. And again, this isn't just from my head, this is from conversations with all of you at one point or another, talking with Stephanie, Alan, your input, I think it's well taken. So it's not like I just came up with this, but I'm curious what you think.
I think it's a great idea, and I'm really I'm glad that you volunteered to do this. I mean, I couldn't write a newsletter, my life depended on it, but it sounds like you're more verbal than I am, so it's great. How do you want the emails? I mean, I can get you a lot of emails. Right now, they're parts of lists with addresses and names. You just want just a series of emails on a sheet. How does that happen?
I think probably the easiest is an Excel spreadsheet. Column 1, first name, column 2, second name, column 3, email.
Do we need the names?
No, you don't necessarily need the names.
You wouldn't necessarily, if you have them, I mean,
just more work. It's a lot more.
It just adds to the database, that's all.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I think Dan is right. That's if you have it, like some people have it like that already, but that would be ideal. But if you just have 50 actual addresses,
I just want to know what you want, because I have lists. I have these lists. I can edit the list, take the information out. We don't need just come up with the names and the email.
Right. And that would be column 1, first name, column 2, last name, column 3.
So you like a Word or a PDF or
Excel.
So
Excel would be great.
the best.
That would be the best.
All right.
Then you can export that right to the outro.
Okay. Okay.
And I mentioned this earlier. I said 2 asks and then possibly 3. Put it on here. We have up to 2,000 email addresses for free as part of our account. If we go over 2,000, it goes up to $10 a month. But if you go over 2,000, you have it at that point unlimited. So the most this would cost would be $120 a year. That's if we go over 2,000.
Another question: if you have 2 emails for a household, male and a female, and the kids, do you want them all? Okay.
I mean, that's what and I mentioned this, one other thing I mentioned was on here, we would send out a pre-newsletter email that says, we're going to send out a newsletter soon. If you don't want to be on our list, let us know. Opt out. It'd be a very simple function to opt out.
Yes, I was going to actually tag on those lines and say that we should at least get an opportunity in it or not. And perhaps just send it out, because I'm sure there are many emails that we don't have to say we're going to do this as a commission who would want to participate.
Right. Yeah, we do a little, it's great, a little advertising before some of the channels we are.
I would maybe rethink that a little bit. Maybe think about your first newsletter and having the opt-out obvious, maybe even more obvious in your first newsletter. Because if you, I mean, and Jerry jump in here, but I think my experience has been if you automatically send out to a list saying, we're going to start sending you something, but this is the ability for you to opt out. The opt-out is kind of mind-boggling. But if you send them something, and then just make it clear that if you want to opt out, then opt out. I think it's just as fair, but yet you're showing some content of this is what you could have, but if you don't want it, then opt out.
A couple of things about that. So in MailChimp, when you manually add somebody, you have to give it the email address. There's a field for their first name and last name. You don't have to put that in. But then there's a checkbox that says, I have permission from this person to add them to this list. And you check it, or you don't check it, because you don't have permission. So I had, so in my list, 80% of them signed up individually. I didn't add any of them. Another 20% were added because I had emails, and I sent them an email and said, this is what I'm going to do. If any of you have any problems with this, let me know, and I won't put you on this list. And that's how I have 20% got on that way, and 80% got on because they individually signed up. MailChimp also gives you that information.
Organic growth after that.
Right, and then what I did, and what happens every time you send it out, you get bounces. You get either hard bounces or soft bounces. Some meaning hard bounces, forget it, this is gone. Soft, the server's down or something like that, it could try again. And what I recently did, I went back and looked at everybody that was on my list, and if people were on the list and over the time that they've been on it, they never once opened it, I knew that they really didn't want to be on it, so I deleted them, and they knew they were deleted, and if they wanted to opt back in, they could, but I didn't want them to keep getting newsletters that clearly they had no interest in. And, that knocks your subscriptions down a lot, but I felt it was only the right thing to do because I know I hate to get newsletters that I never signed up for or that I no longer have any interest in. And then what also happens is so a day or so after I post a newsletter, I also put it on Nextdoor. Putting it on the listserv is harder because I'm not always allowed to put my newsletter on the listserv. But don't get me going on that. But when you put it on Nextdoor, you just give a link. What MailChimp does, it creates a URL, so you could then put that on your website, and people could get to the newsletter without having to receive the newsletter, and then they could subscribe themselves on there. And MailChimp also maintains an archive, so every one of your newsletters, you don't have to do anything. It maintains itself. So it works very easily like that.
I would talk to the office on the ANC, but you may be required to have an unsubscribe button somewhere on any electronic mail out. I remember from doing some campaign work, volunteer campaign work, we had Office of Campaign Finance tell us that our newsletter was going to get us in trouble because it didn't have the unsubscribe button. I imagine if the newsletter incurs some cost or has a backing endorsement of the ANC as a body, you may trigger some type of requirement where the unsubscribe button will have to be there.
In MailChimp, unsubscribe is a feature of the footer automatically.
Oh, yeah.
So it's there. And, I always get one or two every month, so I know it works.
One thing I was going to suggest, this is not on the logistical piece, but more on the substantive text of our first newsletter, is basically to say what the ANC is, because although we all know, and there are a number of members of the community, there are a lot of people who don't know exactly what the ANC is and what it does. Because when I tell people, and I'm sure you guys have this in the community, that I'm on the ANC, they want to know sometimes, what exactly is it that you do? So I think that would be, along with all the other things you're putting in it, sort of a great first question or issue to address.
That's number 4 in my outreach, the bullet points there about how would anybody even know about the ANC if they already aren't engaged, and that's a very important point. So many people you meet say, what's the ANC? What do you guys actually do? So that's a perfect way.
Maybe want to, probably in 2 sentences, maybe 3, build it into the banner or the header of the thing. Or maybe the commission, or like your representative, or whatever. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, that way it's always there.
I have one question. I did start collecting email addresses today, using Excel. Unfortunately, I should have. I have a lot of addresses for people that may not be in my SMD, but I don't know whether they're going to be picked up by somebody else or not. Did you have a way to identify duplicates?
Yeah, Notion does that.
Okay.
We'll struggle now. What it has to do is definitely the same person.
Yeah.
Randy got his whole bunch from my
I mean, I just get complaints from everybody these days. Okay. I don't know what they're doing. Yes, sir.
I just have a quick question. I'm Rick Ewing on Free Speech, 2 Litigation Street. I've been reading Jerry's excellent newsletter, and I'm wondering if this is building on that, or is it in addition to?
In addition to, I think, right? In addition to. Jerry's not going to stop doing his good work.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what we need to vote on here, but I think we probably need to vote on it, certainly on the newsletter. And Jerry,
One thing I don't know if we need to vote, but in terms of the other thing, I think we should get a group together, call it a task force or something else, to talk about, you know, this idea of a comprehensive integrated communication strategy.
Yeah.
Because if we keep doing one-offs, not that they aren't useful, but we could get more bang for our buck if we really build an integrated way of looking at all of these things.
Okay. I think it was a good idea. Shall we adopt that as a motion then? And who's going to be more in the task force? We will. Okay. All right. All those in favor of doing that? 7-0. Okay. And all those in favor of adopting Abe's proposal with regard to the newsletter, including the asks for each of the commissioners? 7-0. Okay.
Just a clarification to go back. The asks from the commissioners, I see, you want those as soon as possible? I didn't necessarily see the end of timeline.
Yep, I think so. On the bottom was its rollout timeline. It's a May, sorry, thank you, Jerry. May 2nd, submissions for newsletter items 10/8. So that's when I would need, if there's something that you would want to be in the first newsletter, I think I would try to include as much as possible, space permitting. That's what I would need something by. And that's also when I would need those 50 email addresses done. We've got a solid 3 weeks to more, I guess, a little more than 3 weeks.
Okay, so May 2nd.
May 2nd, yeah. And I don't really want to set an expectation like an item of a certain length or anything like that for this time, and then maybe in the future that becomes necessary, but let's see what people say. Maybe at some point, but I think for now, let's see what people say. Yeah, I don't quite know what to expect. This is the first time, so we'll see what we get. And it'll be monthly, so if it's not included in the first month, it'll always be.
Yeah. To be continued at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, this was really very good. I appreciate the work that both Jerry and Abe did on this. This was really thoughtful, carefully planned out, and I appreciate that. We're certainly doing a lot more in terms of outreach now than we had been 6 years ago, or 7 years ago when I joined the commission. I would also mention too that we did propose in the testimony we gave at the OA&C budget hearing that the OA&C start taking a more active role too in fostering communication between constituents and the commissioners. That was received quite well in the committee, and I've been subsequently talking to one staff member in Mary Chay's office about this. The trick is going to be, even, I mean, this is not, we didn't ask for a lot of money, it was about $220,000, but money is tight in this budget, and they may not come up with even a small amount for that. So we'll have to see what the OA&C does to help us out with some technological improvements there. The other thing that I think is really important, and maybe we have some possibility the OA&C will help us on this, and that is communication from commissioners to other commissioners outside our ANC, so that we can share ideas, share experiences, and perhaps even marshal all the ANCs together on a particular issue if it affects the whole city. Okay, that concludes our agenda for tonight. I know, other than the commission business. Okay, the minutes for our March 25th, 2019 meeting have been posted on our website and on various websites, various listservs. Any changes or modifications to the minutes? All those in favor of adopting the minutes? Any checks, Shannon? No checks. Okay. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the meeting, the primary topic on our discussion next meeting will be proposed changes in traffic patterns and parking and the E6 bus around Lafayette Elementary School. And I know that's going to attract a lot of attention. Are we going to take off the maintenance issues again? We're not going to deal with that, right? Okay. All right.
Plus, they said they might be going to the 3 buses and that means they can also do that. So I want to see the figures of all that.
And there will have a very short presentation and discussion about dockless scooters, and the problem is the person who's making that presentation couldn't be here for another meeting. It's going to be summer before they can come back. So I think we'll just go ahead and do that. Quarterly financial report.